I'm Van.
I'm Sori.
That's Lavi.
And Salty and Chip.
I got a pic from a very important person.
So did I.
See the grooves? You can't see the grooves in the video, but it's very important to me when
Mine
I'm
has
playing.
a cross on it. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Too busy. The camera's too busy zooming in on the. I think this camera's racist. To be honest with you, it's always zooming in on your face and not mine.
Well, finally, I get
Literally,
something.
it was just the corner of your face.
Hail Kaepernick!
And it was like searching for. It's like searching for Jamaican. Please.
Shout out to the big homie Ben Webb. Ben
What?
came up with the
Oh,
illest
no.
conspiracy theory of all
What
time.
was it?
I got to screen cap it.
Oh
It's
my
probably the most amazing comment I've ever heard in my entire life. Ben Webb. And it's like completely offensive, but I don't know. Ben can't offend me. There's nothing he can do that can offend me.
Oh, I know.
I love him.
I don't know. You totally given him a pass.
I love him. He's great. He's great. Anyway, I'll screen cap it for you and read it to you on the way.
Oh, okay.
If you thought that because we did the Behemoth release that somehow that would delay our regular scheduled program,
You were wrong.
you are wrong. This is Vin and Sori. We don't
That's
play
right.
around. Play around.
You guys are going to actually be happy because this is a band you guys have been asking for since the beginning.
My Dying Bride.
Yes.
The Dreadful Hours.
Yeah.
So I'm actually interested to hear.
Honest
this
to
band.
goodness, when a song has a title that sounds like a little bit like, I'm more interested in hearing it.
Speaking of dreadful, rest in peace to the big homie, D. Wigby. I think her name is.
Oh, man.
I think it's important to name these people. Stabbed 119 times or some shit like that. We got to do better, man. We got to take care of each other.
No, that's not right.
We got to take care of each other. I mean, it's that simple. So, anyway, rest in peace to big homie. This is The Dreadful Hours, My Dying Bride. Let's hit it.
Go.
Rain.
wonder if this was based off anything. If this is a concept album. Like, is there more to the story?
I don't know.
Wow.
A lot of applications to this thing, man.
Yeah. That's gonna be tough if, like, you're a mom and you have, like, an abusive husband, and then you stay in that situation and then it claims the life of your child.
Yeah, the whole stay together for the kids thing.
Right. Yeah, but a lot of times people will, well, I have heard of people say stay together for the kids, but a lot of times, you know, women, I mean, I don't even know, maybe men, I can't speak, I haven't actually talked to a lot of men in that situation, but I know, like, a lot of women will stay in the situation because they don't think that they can get out of it or that they could do any better, or, you know, they want that person to love them. And so I think a lot of the people that I talked to, personally can't speak for everybody, but the people that I talked to said that they stayed in those situations, and basically when they got out of it, they said they stayed there selfishly. You know, and I was talking to one girl who, you know, her mom was in an abusive relationship, and then she grew up seeing that, and she's like, I'll be damned if I get into a relationship like my mom. But I said, why do you think that your mom did that? And she was like, I think she just thought she couldn't do any better. Like, I think she just thought that he was the best that she could ever have, or whatever. So, yeah, man. Oh my gosh, I can't even. So he killed the kid and then he took off?
I don't know.
How are you going to say that to somebody? Your life only brought shame, and then... Like, I don't understand the concept of being, like, a grown man going after a child.
Yeah, the picture.
I know, like that. You can see, like, it looks... Well, at first, when you looked at it, it just looked like it was that creepy creature's, you know, shape.
Skeleton angel.
Yeah, but then you can see that it could kind of look like a child, like that. What the heck?
Yeah, it was weird. I was thinking about Game of Thrones actually yesterday, and I forgot the guy's name, the little guy.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either.
And his relationship with his dad, and he died. His mom died in childbirth, so the dad always resented him, and he was a dwarf or whatever, so he wasn't. The other two, was it Tyrion Lannister is his name?
Yeah, that was one of their names. I don't know.
The other two were, you know, tall and like the brother was tall and handsome and blonde and beautiful, and then the Cersei is, you know, beautiful or whatever, and you know, but then he's this dwarf, and the dad was like, you know, it wasn't worth it losing my wife for you, and you're worthless, and you're always a disappointment, and blah 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 blah, and you know, of course, he's a character in a story, but art imitates life, and you wouldn't have a character like that if that wasn't true to life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's just something about, like, being a father, and we were talking about it yesterday, about, like, the first time I was able to bring Dorian home and hold him, and how you know, he got because he was in the room for the first 3 months, and I think literally he got about 5 nights of uninterrupted sleep, because I always find reasons to wake him up, or you know, telling the kids that, you know, God made you and he put you here and you're important and you're going to change the world, and there's never been one like you and there's never going to be one since, and just like all the things that you just pour into your kids, and like, we don't want you to, and the lyrics are not very complex, but we don't want you, nobody loves you.
It was a lie. The mom wanted him.
And, you know, your life has only ever been shame and just evil shit.
I know. What it was at the beginning, it said...
he was scared to come down. He was scared
come down where?
I'm assuming come downstairs.
Yep.
Because the dad was going to be there or whatever.
But he said, please take me down. I'm sorry. Meaning he wanted his mom to come get him and bring him down. Like he didn't want to go by himself.
Yeah. I don't know.
Child, just hold on. Night will soon be gone.
Sleep
but
if you can.
It sounded like it said night will soon be dawn, which I thought was more artistic. But I'm not sure what it actually said. It sounded like dawn to me, so I was like, ooh.
Well, at the end, she says the night is gone. Father has gone.
Yep.
And, it's just... Kids have always been a very vulnerable group of people.
It sounds like she did go because she said, child, just hold on. Maybe it's hold on to her hand. Just hold on, like night will soon be gone. Mm. I wonder if he was like a drunk or something, like an angry drunk.
I don't think she went to get him. I think she was just saying...
Hold on to what?
Stick it out. When you say hold on, it's just like stick it out, Your dad's going to come. He's going to do what he's going to do. Sleep if you can, but watch your father's hand. Like... She basically left him to his father's devices, basically.
Yeah.
It's just I never had my. If anybody would have tried to do that to me, my mom would have.
Yeah.
My mom would have literally ended somebody's life.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
There was one time. Shout out to the big homie, Mr. Pegram, but this girl, we all went on a field trip and this girl claimed that I stole $20 from her. So, and my mom had packed $20 for me, so Mr. Pegram, and it was a black girl. I mean, we were in Florida, it was all black school. Mr. Pegram made me give her the 20, and then he gave me his own 20. Didn't matter. My mom lit him up, threatened to kill him, blah, 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 real shit.
Oh my gosh! What were you thinking when you were threatening to kill the teacher?
I mean, that's my mom.
Couldn't you go to jail for that now?
Oh, you could have went to jail for it before. But that's the thing, when my mom would, the way that she was just, it's hard to explain. Nobody ever called the police on her, but they should have. Multiple times. But she was just, it's literally indescribable. I can't describe her. But, I mean, and really, I felt bad because... I thought he thought probably it was like a Solomonic solution.
Yeah.
And he sacrificed his own 20.
Yeah.
But, and I was just saying it in passing because I didn't care because I got my 20 anyway, but nobody was going to treat her son like that. So my mom, you would have been dead. If any dude would have said that to me, my own father, I mean, it wouldn't have taken much for her to go after my dad. But,
oh my gosh.
But even my stepdad, there was literally only two, I grew up with my stepdad. He was the one I spent the most time with.
Right.
There were literally 2 times when he ever said anything to me. And I completely fucking deserved it. But it was never anything like this. It was both times it was why are you saying that to your mother? Why are you giving your mother so much trouble? And he was allowed to say that, but... This shit, she would have murdered him. She would have killed him. This, right? I don't understand this. How?
I don't.
But at the same time, my mom was just a different type of person. You can't hold other women to that standard.
I don't see myself burying somebody, but I do see myself packing up and leaving.
Yeah, I don't see you. You wouldn't let anybody do that to the kids. No,
I wouldn't let anybody do that. But I don't think that I would. I don't know what I would do though if I had a weapon.
Yeah,
I feel like if I had a weapon in my hand and I came in and somebody was abusing the kids, that's different. I could see myself.
But kids, like I said, kids have always been hey JB, we got your package.
We did.
Obviously. That's all I'm saying. I'm not giving you any recognition.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it was an exciting moment. Anyway, moving along.
But kids have always been vulnerable. They've always been you can always just fuck with them, and they're so. If somebody's not there to defend kids, like, that's it. In a family system, or even in a given society, like, you guys know where I'm going with that, and I don't need to repeat it. But like, they're just completely vulnerable, and if your mom won't protect you, it's a wrap.
I remember when I was a kid, we went to a fair one time. I don't know if I've told this story before, but there was this father, well, I assumed it was the dad. He was like yelling at this kid, like, you know when like people are like degrading to kids, like, well, they're dehumanizing them. You know, you're an idiot, you motherfucker, you whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just saying stuff like that. Like, there's a difference between saying, you're not thinking this through, okay? I need you to exercise a little bit of wisdom. And then saying, you're a fucking idiot, you know, and stuff like that. He was letting this kid have it. And I remember he smacked the kid, and like, now maybe I'm misremembering this, but I feel like I distinctly remember kid getting hit in the back of the head, and then the kid's head bouncing off the picnic table. Oh my god.
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
Yeah.
What happened?
You know, honestly, I'd have to ask my parents. I know that we moved along, but I don't know if my mom moved along with us and if my father stayed and talked to the guy. Because I don't see my dad just walking out of a situation like that. So I really don't know. I couldn't tell you. I know that we moved it along, but I don't know if it was just my mom. I don't remember the surrounding situation because I remember feeling so sick to my stomach that because I couldn't understand like an adult treating a child like that. Like, I think I had heard stories of people being
that's
abusive,
the shit he was
but
doing
like
in public. So
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Open season.
Kid was probably like 8 years old.
Open season. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how we do to people who can't.
I almost want to say I remember my dad talking to him because I remember thinking, okay, that's fixed now. That's not going to happen
That's
again.
the thing about New York City.
Yeah.
Like, people will get in your shit in New York City. Like, they will fuck with you.
People
in New York
don't
City.
really do that around here.
Yeah, here is different. Like, that shit that happened in the parking lot that time.
Yeah.
Like, motherfuckers would have been on that guy.
Really?
Like, yeah, what I did was just normal shit that people would do. Like, they wouldn't let that happen. Like, they would not have let that happen. I don't know. But, God. Of course, you have the theodicy, right? God in heaven, can you hear me? Here's this kid, because all he's got is God now, because his fucking mother, obviously. You know, I can't, like I said, I can't judge her, because I was just lucky enough to have a mom that would have... My mom was a fighter, man, like, literally, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Like, so...
I know.
There's
You know
a
what's
lot,
crazy?
because my mom had a really, really tough, rough Jamaican country upbringing. Mm-hmm. And she just was born with
Did you ever meet her mom and dad?
Yeah. But see, that's why it was tough, because she was sent away when she was smaller.
What do you mean
So
was
she
sent away?
never grew up with her biological mom and brothers.
Well, why was she? What do you mean she was sent away?
She was sent away. There was another family that took her in. So she grew up separate from my grandmother and
I don't understand that.
and
That
aunts
doesn't-
and uncles.
They put her up for adoption, or
Well,
you're saying like, do people do that?
Another family took her in. It wasn't like an official adoption.
So like
or whatever.
your grandmother was too
There's
stressed out.
there's
or
too many
something.
kids, and
So she said,
she,
"Oh my god, I hear him."
So my mom she obviously that hurts. She grew up hurt in a lot of pain,
yeah.
and it wasn't her family, and
Yeah.
you know, so it's just different, you know. But most women, when you have a very intimidating guy that's bigger and stronger than you, there's very little that you can do in this situation. So this kid's calling out to God, and obviously in this particular story, God does nothing for the kid that we can see from a human perspective. And you have to say that this is one of the main issues for theism, particularly Christian theism. The idea that, because in Christianity we say not only that there's a God, but that God is involved in human affairs, and that there are many times when he intervenes. That's why you have another category called deism, because the deists say, well, there's got to be a God somewhere. But he's obviously not, he doesn't fucking, how could this happen?
Yeah.
If there was really a God, how could this happen to this kid? And it's tough because they did it really, really good. You know, like, they built up the mood and the atmosphere, and you just felt for this kid.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy
Felt so
because
sick to my stomach.
you wanted to activate. You
Yep.
wanted to act on behalf of this kid.
Yeah.
You know, and deal with the cowardly father, but nothing happens. And you got to deal with that as a from our perspective. It's a problem that we have to deal with. I mean,
Yeah.
and you know, growing up, my mother was not an easy answers person. You know, so she'd say, "Yeah, that happened." You know, because people say, "Oh, you know, it's free will, God's honoring." You know, we're listening to that discussion yesterday. The person said free will. You know, like that. To them, that solves the problem. And I remember you saying, "Oh, yeah, I remember." You know, did you say like it used to be easier when you used to believe that free will? Was
Yeah, because then you could just say, well, you know, God was letting that person exercise their free will. So it's not like God was like saying, hey, I'm going to make this horrible event happen. Like, that horrible event happened, but it's not God's fault. It's your fault because, you know, you, whatever.
Yeah.
And then what do you say to that? I still am having a hard time to remember what
Well,
you
I said, well, what was God doing when the person's exercising their free will? Because this little kid didn't freely choose to get killed by his dad.
Right.
So why is God honoring the criminal's free will and not the kid's free will? Why didn't God intervene? This free
know.
will thing doesn't solve any
Right,
problem
yeah.
whatsoever. I mean, at some level, you have to say that there is some part of God's will for that thing to happen.
Ugh.
You have to. And
Yeah.
I think for me, before Jesus came to the earth, I'd have a much more difficult time answering that question.
Yeah.
But Christian theology states that Jesus is just as innocent as we perceive this child to be. Even more innocent than we perceive this child to be.
Right.
You know, there's that scene in The Passion of the Christ where Jesus is carrying the cross. It's probably the most poignant scene in the whole movie for me anyway. Jesus is carrying the cross, and then Mary is parallel and following him, and he buckles under the weight of the
She sees him
cross.
when he was a little
And
boy.
she saw him
Yep,
when he was
I
a little
remember that.
boy, and he fell and hurt his knee, and she runs over to him. And immediately as I was watching that, God said to me, he was just as innocent when he was carrying the cross as he was when he was a little boy. That's the thing about the idea that Jesus was completely sinless. It means that there was the childlike purity, like he never lost it. And of course, from our perspective, we've never seen like a completely pure child.
No, it's crazy too because he was completely innocent, but he wasn't naive. Like he knew what was in man.
Right.
And for me, I feel like that. How?
Right.
I feel like when you know, like sometimes I feel like my naivete is good because I'm like, well, I didn't see that coming, but at least I wasn't going. But he knew what was in people and still maintained an innocent heart. You know.
Yeah. Well, he was still naive when it came to his dad. You know, little kids like, my dad can do anything.
Well, what do you mean he was naive when it came to his
Well, he
dad?
had that childlikeness when it came to God the Father.
Like
he just believed it.
do you think that there was any of that when he...
What, the childlikeness?
Yeah. Do you think that there was any of that when he was...
Why have you forsaken me?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that's the only thing. When I see, you know, there's a lot of, like, ways to answer that question theologically. How do you do that? And there's the doctrine of concurrence and compatibilism and blah, blah, blah. But to me, like, I go straight to the cross. And I go, okay, God was silent to Jesus. And he abandoned Jesus to the cross.
Yeah.
Because he was doing something bigger than that moment, and he was doing something to save the entire world. And so, like, that's how the math works. Like, the degree to which the atrocity goes unanswered is the degree to which God is going to do something great out of it. So the crucifixion is the greatest atrocity ever because the most beautiful, innocent person, perfect person had the most injustice done to them ever.
Yeah.
But God, through that greatest injustice ever, brought about the best good ever.
Yeah.
So then all the subordinate evils are going to create subordinate goods.
Yeah.
And so all of that gets funneled into the cross for me. So you've got Judas's betrayal, Pilate's cowardice, the Jews' jealousy, the mocking of the soldiers, the just plain meanness of the crucifiers. All of that was working the best good possible. And so the reason God didn't answer this kid in the way that we could perceive as stopping the problem is because there is good coming from it. Some of which, like for example, this very conversation.
Yeah.
So if this conversation blesses somebody and gives somebody 24 hours of hope, or speaks to a father and says, you know what, you shouldn't fucking do that to a kid. You know how many dudes would have probably been abusive motherfuckers, but because of this song aren't? Like, think about that.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of that.
As you're listening to there are dudes right now that like probably have never done this, that came up through this path and listened to this song, and because of this song said to themselves, I'm never going to be like that. So
yeah, you're probably right.
So God's silence to this kid was God's way of protecting millions of kids or hundreds of kids or whatever the plan is, right? So, I mean, that's how I deal with it. But you can't say that, and that's why I loved about Jesus saying, "Why have you forsaken me?" on the cross, because Jesus knew what the meta narrative was and what the big picture was about the cross. But that didn't stop him from being honest about, in this moment, it sucks. In this moment, it sucks that you're not answering me. In this moment, it sucks that I'm by myself here. So I love that, because Jesus was living in both worlds, like the meta narrative and the immediate. And like, that's where I choose to live. Like, I think it sucks that God doesn't answer the person immediately in that situation. I know that there's a bigger thing happening. And at this point in my life, I've seen way too many things to where it's like, that had to happen to me. You know what I mean? Like, I've gone through some pretty terrible shit.
Yeah.
But even in the last 6 months when we've done this channel, people have said so many things to where I'm like, okay, if I didn't have those experiences, these people wouldn't be helped. And like, would I say, to make my single life better, all these people that we've touched on accident, because that wasn't even our motive.
I know.
I wish we were as good as people thought we were.
I know. It's funny because I was responding to somebody and they were like saying how like the channel has helped them and stuff like that. And I was gonna say that's why we're here doing what we're doing. And then I was like, fuck, I can't say that. That's not true. We started doing it just for the fun of it, and then it's become this.
Then it became, well,
like,
we can do this full time.
Yeah.
So I can quit the other job.
Yeah.
And then do this.
And then in the meantime, we're helping people out.
And then all of a sudden, and then it's like, but of course we care about people.
Yeah. But I feel a little bit terrible that like that wasn't in the original design.
That wasn't the original intent.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the secondary intent either.
No.
But like, would I trade all the pain that I've been through as a singular person to not help a whole host of other people? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change anything.
Right.
I mean, I remember like having an absentee father and the pain that caused, and saying I'm never going to be like that. You know, my kids, now swung the other way, and they're always with me. Or Dorian,
Dorian's like, when I grow up, I'm going to be moving to Seattle. You know that, right? And I said, I don't think so. I think you're going to live by us. And he goes, not unless you guys are living in Seattle. I'm like, don't say it too loud. Your dad will probably move there. No, I didn't say that. I'm like, well,
yeah, it's fucked up, man. What is that, Psalm 27? If my mother and father abandon me, the Lord will take me up. SubhanAllah. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't talk about it a lot, but that's one of the things that we were talking and on the fireside, and this woman was comparing an unborn child to a parasite. And it's like, that type of rejection. Of course, she had kids of her own, so she didn't, But that type of rejection, when a society collectively turns their back on you, and like you're nothing but a parasite, and which of course is scientifically inaccurate.
Yeah.
Alec, my scientist friend who's pro-choice, even he was like, oh no, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But even that you can say that about another human being.
I know.
And we just collectively turn our back on these kids. Like, somebody sent me an email, and it was this big thing about Kavanaugh, and there was this girl that was 15 weeks pregnant, and Rachel Maddow was freaking out because Kavanaugh was trying to extend it to 20 weeks because you can't abort your child after 20 weeks or whatever. And the person said to me, like, isn't this terrible what Kavanaugh was doing? And they wrote this big long thing, and all I did was take a screenshot of what a 15-week-old child looks like in utero, and I sent it. No response. Go Google it. We just throw people away and get rid of them like they're completely worthless and useless. And we say what it, like, you know, like I have fun, you know, debating and all this, but like, God, just, I wish we would stop with the rhetoric and stop and look at ourselves in the mirror and see what the fuck we're doing. Go Google what 15 weeks looks like. It's like we've collectively turned our back on these kids, man. It's like, you know, it's to the point now where we've got a society where you can do that shit to a kid in public and slam his head off of a picnic table. You can do that shit in public.
Yeah.
Because they're
That was years ago, too.
I mean, what is he? You know, he's just a couple years removed from being a parasite, so why not?
Right.
But that psalm like gives me a lot of comfort. You know, though my mother and father reject me, God will take me up. You know, and it's like. And the thing is, because I'm a collectivist, like I feel the collective guilt of what we're doing in our culture to these kids. You know what I mean? And it was tough because at the end she says, "My tiny son."
I know.
And that's absolutely applicable to what's going on. And
That part made me sad because it's like, it doesn't matter how big your kids get, like they're still your baby, you know?
I know Dorian in like 4 months is going to be tiny.
He is gonna be. I was like looking at him today, and I was like, yo, he's gonna be taller than me like soon. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And he's got that thing on his eye. And I said, "Hey buddy, your eye's going down. It looks a little better." He goes, "Yeah." I go and kiss him on the eye, you know. I hug him now, like or like when he talks, it's like a dude's down there. Remember that time I ran downstairs
so weird,
and I thought some dude was in the house?
I know.
I was like, mother. Oh, it's Dorian.
It's weird too. Like
he's like, "What's wrong with you, father?" I'm like, "As you were."
I was like talking to him in the kitchen. I'm like, "Is it weird for you to like hear your own voice different?" But he's slowly heard his voice change, so he doesn't even realize that it's different. He loves his zits too.
Yeah.
I was always embarrassed when I got zits.
Well, he read the book, so now he knows.
So now he's like, this is teenager shit, so I'm good with it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just like this it's just sad, you know. Just the whole thing is just sad.
People have to protect. I will say that they did a really good job on this song musically.
Yeah, the musicianship.
Oh my word, incredible.
Musicianship was great. They went a lot of different places that I wouldn't.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't have expected.
Wow.
Like when it got heavy, you know, and it really got heavy, and the death vocals, and then the desperate vocals. It was just a really.
Oh man, those desperate vocals. Oh my gosh.
It's a song. It's like DMT, and people talk about like taking ayahuasca, and like it's like an amazing experience, but they're only going to do it twice a year. This is like this song. Like I completely want to get out of the mood and atmosphere of this song because it's so fucked up. I usually watch all the reviews.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to watch this one. It's just really tough. It's tough. They're like the most unaffected people by the fall. Kids. You know, the older you get, the more the evidence of the fall is obvious.
He talks about the fall. He means the fall of man in the Garden of Eden when they sinned and so they fell away from their closeness with God in the sense of being able to just walk with him anytime they wanted and stuff like that.
I just wish we weren't so mean to each other.
Yeah.
And I, you know, obviously, you know, we're in the minority on this stuff, especially with our audience. I just wish that we would listen to the things that we're saying. And,
I think some of it is try not to be so angry either. Like, sometimes I think the reason that people are so mean is because they've let anger go so unchecked for so long that then it just comes out, and it comes out on, you know, sometimes the...
Yeah.
You know?
It's not going to come out on the biggest guy
right. It sometimes comes out in the most cowardly of ways.
Yeah, people always say things like, "Oh, I couldn't help myself." Really? You didn't come after me.
Right.
You seemed to help yourself when I was around.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's tough. But then it's like... I always think to myself, like, what did that dad go through? Why is he like that? Like, what did he hear growing up that turned him into the... Because it's like, I can't think that he heard, you're loved, you're important, you're in the image of God, you're
Right.
You're perfect the way that God made you. Like,
Right.
I can't believe that he heard that his whole life and then turned into this type of a person.
Yeah, no, that doesn't usually happen. A lot of times it's... Well, but that's, like, you know that verse, the verses that talk about that, like, you have sin that you, like, pass on to your kids. Like, I understand that there's, like, just you're born sinful, but then there's also,
there's
like...
particular habits and cycles.
Yeah, that first of all are just in your genes. Like, is that something Alec was saying? Like, some people are just predisposed to certain behaviors and stuff. Yeah. But then on top of that, there's environmental things that when you're in that environment, it creates a certain attitude and a certain response from you.
Right.
That then when you put that on the next generation, that they put on the next generation, and somebody has to say, I'm going to be the generation that's going to be the stopgap. Like, this isn't going to keep getting passed down. And, you know, like, I was talking to Kyle, and, like, that's how he was. He was like, okay, this is going to stop now, you know? And he put in the work to make sure that he was a different type of parent,
This
you know?
is going into the ground with me.
Yeah. Like, but you gotta, like, when you love your kids, like, you're gonna want to take the brunt for that. Like, you're gonna want to, like, you know, just like people say, oh, I'll take a bullet for the person. Well, it's like taking a bullet for somebody, but it's a lifelong, you know.
Yeah, you grow when you're going through that. You always say, I'm never gonna be like my parents, but you gotta be intentional and realize that that's in you. Like, that's one of the things where it's like you got to realize that mathematically speaking, because you were raised that way, it's more likely than not that you're going to do it. And it's not meant to pencil you into saying it's necessarily going to happen. What it means is you've got to be more diligent than most people because you're starting behind the eight ball.
Yeah. And get the help that you need, you know? Like, if you're struggling and you keep realizing that you keep doing the same shit over and over again, reach out and get some help. There's help everywhere. There's helplines, there's counselors, there's, you know, talk to somebody. Get some help.
We're not counselors, but we can direct you to local counselors in your area. We can do that for sure. Because, and you know, if you're the type of person that's hurt a kid, whether a kid that's born or a kid that wasn't born, like, our story is that there's forgiveness there, and that the suffering that Jesus endured is for you too, and so if you'll have it, so I mean, there's redemption for it. So I just wanted to, like, make sure that we don't just, like, bash on the dad, which obviously by all intents deserves it, and he's a terrible person, without saying even people that have done that,
Killed a kid, abused a kid, got rid of a kid, looked at a kid as a parasite, however you want to call it. There's forgiveness there, and we believe that, like, wholeheartedly with perfect faith. So anyway, that's where I'm at with it. Tough song, very important song. This is like well done. Very well done.
This is like daddy level to me, as far as, like, disturbing to listen to and not something I want to listen to again.
Oh, really? Yeah, it wasn't that disturbing, but you know, the other thing too was I wasn't sure what was going to happen. For some reason, I thought that the kid was going to kill the dad. So then it kind of, like, threw me at the end when I realized, oh my gosh, like, no, like, the dad, like, literally killed the kid. Like, what the heck? That was kind of weird, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to abstain from voting on this song. But I did like the instrumentation a lot. I liked it in the sense that it set the tone for the song. I didn't like it in the sense of what it does, because I was in a very, very good mood before the song came on, and I'll be in a good mood on our ride for sure. Don't worry about that. I don't want to mess up your day.
I give it a 10. I thought musically it was really good. I thought that they communicated their point very well, matching the sound with the lyrics, and I think that it's a wildly important topic, and and very sad, but I think that they did a really good job. I actually, to be honest with you, see, I'm different than you. You would say, okay, I'm packing this, I'm not even going to watch the review. I could sit down and listen to the whole album now, because I'm like, is there more to this story? Like, what happens after this? You know, like, I don't know, like, but I'm like that. Like if I knew that this was like, I know that there are stories out there like this, like that this sort of thing happens. But if I knew, like, that's why Daddy affected me the way that it did, because Jonathan was singing about his experience. So it like just cut me to the heart. Like if I thought this, but for some reason the way that it comes across, it's funny because the way that this one came across, not funny, but the way that this one came across, I didn't feel like he was singing about himself, but maybe he was. It sounded like he was putting out another story, I'm not sure, but so it didn't have the same like effect on me as Daddy did, but I think it's very important and beautiful sound.
Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.